Welcome to Outside of the Classroom. Education is important, but not that bullshit, abstract, and theoretical education. You want useful, relevant, and actionable lessons that will help you succeed in life. So that's what we do. It's your boy Pham, your host, and now let's hack your education together. Welcome to Outside of the Classroom. Today we have Paiman Vahdati, co-founder of Flickflyer, on our show today. Paiman, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you, Tam. Thank you for having me.
What do you think about my state-of-the-art studio we're in?
Studio is actually really nice. I definitely like the acoustics in here. It's pretty awesome.
Thank you, man. It took me a lot of time to build this studio out. Very, very expensive studio. And by studio, I mean my kitchen. Paiman, you applied to Indiegogo, the crowdfunding website, with a super creative approach. But before we get into that, tell the audience a little bit about yourself and what you're up to.
Yeah, so currently I'm one of the founders of Flickflyer, which is a mobile marketplace that helps people shoot, upload, and sell product videos of their items for sale. And prior to this experience, I worked at Hitachi Data Systems as a project manager, and pretty much have been all over the place, but have now focused on product and marketing.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like you've done so much stuff because I've known you since we last saw each other at the Startups Accelerator, which is a startup incubator. But I guess, like, out of so many different experiences you've been through, why Indiegogo? Why did you even want to apply for that?
Good question. I think for me, the main word is passion. Figuring out what is it that I'm passionate about, who is it that I want to serve ultimately. So a lot of companies, what they're doing is they're serving a select group of people. Mm-hmm. And the way that I think it's for me to go about my job search or for anything that I'm doing really is understanding who is it that I want to serve and where is it that my skills and my experience could be best utilized to serve those people. And so Indiegogo it's been a company that, I've been a fan of since they've been around. They have a great leadership team, and I think what they're doing for the community and for people all over the world is democratizing the ability to create anything that you want to create, being able to help the community and people in very unique ways, and just being able to help the company, achieve that mission is really what I was looking forward to.
Well, that's awesome. But the main reason I want to ask that question is because there's so many other crowdfunding websites out there like Kickstarter or GoFundMe. I guess why Indiegogo specifically? Is it because of the team? Is it because of the specific mission? Because it seems like they all do kind of the same thing.
Good question. So they do this same thing, yes. Overall, they do the same thing, but they do it in a unique way, right? And I think they have certain emphasis on starting off with the culture, right? Everything begins with the culture. So Indiegogo's culture is very unique. Every company has a very unique culture that can't be replicated. So it's true that there's multiple crowdfunding platforms.
Yeah.
But in terms of the culture, Indiegogo's is very unique in the sense that it's all about, it's really all about the community. It's very cliche.
Okay, no, that's perfectly fine. But I just wanted to make sure, clear to the listener tuning in, is that there's many different companies out there. I just wanted to see your perspective on why you chose a specific company and why you took so much effort to go for that company. And speaking of going for that company, could you just briefly? I love what you did, by the way. I was a fan of it. I retweeted you. I just share with the listeners what you did to get a phone call interview or to get an interview with Indiegogo.
Yeah. So what I did was ultimately I created a resume that was tailored to look like the Indiegogo's website. So it pretty much looked like a campaign page, but it was in the wording and the content was related to what you would see on a resume.
Yeah.
And so that I created that. I applied online. I spread it all across social media. I had helpful friends like you, spread it, and eventually it caught notice. And so I got the interview.
Well, tell me more about the campaign itself. Did you raise money or something? Or for those who've never seen it before, can you just give a visual representation? What did you put in the description? How much money were you raising? What were the rewards? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so if you go to Indiegogo's campaign page, you'll see what typically what people have is they have a video.
Okay.
Then on the right-hand side, they have what you will get if you contribute a certain amount of money, and then there's a campaign description in the body of the page. So I'd put a picture of kind of looked like a indie video with the laurel leaves.
Okay.
And I put my own awards that I received. So it looked like an indie film receiving certain awards, but it was really my background. On the right-hand side for, what you would get if you contribute $1 or $5, I put the skills that you would get if you would hire me.
Yeah.
And for the progress bar, I forgot what, but I think we could probably pull it up.
I think I have it somewhere.
Yeah.
Give me one sec. But I just like it so much because, like, I was looking at it, I was like, wow. Have you seen what happened with Nina for Airbnb? Have you heard of that story before? She did this. It's kind of the same thing where she had an Airbnb page, very design focused and similar, and she had all about her skills, her portfolios, and her ideas and stuff about what she wanted for Airbnb. So which is what you did for Indiegogo. So what it seems here, I'm looking at it right now. I see a nice picture in the middle. Is it a video? Is it a real video you filmed?
It's not a real video. It's just.
And on the side it says 456,000 hours willing to work in one day, 100% committed.
So typically what goes there is the amount of money raised. So I put the amount of hours I'm willing to work.
Oh, got it. That's so creative. Cool. And then at the bottom, it seems like you get different perks. So instead of like the amount of money you get, you purchase, or not purchase, but you showcase your projects, your skills, and your education, right?
Yeah, so perks on Indiegogo, perk is, give me $20, I'll give you the product. Give me $5, I'll give you a t-shirt. And so for this, the perks are, hire me and I'll give you project and leadership skills. I'll give you design skills, marketing skills, and I'll give you my education.
This took a lot of like time and effort to like just go for Indiegogo, right? Yes. How long did it take you?
It took me a long time.
A long time? It looks beautiful. Like, it looks great.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen many bad Indiegogo campaigns. I'm just like, this is like much better. He's not even trying to raise money. He's like, actually wants to get a job, or he's doing it for something else. But it's impressive. I like it.
Thank you.
But going off of this, like, I guess what was your thought process going into like doing something all out for Indiegogo? Because right before you wanted to do it, like, what were you thinking? Like, were you thinking that a resume wasn't good enough? Were you thinking you wanted to stand out? Like, why, I guess, did you start this idea?
So lots of those things, yeah. So, I mean, we're in a competitive market. You always need to look for unique ways to stand out. I think, the key thing to getting a job is obviously referrals. 40% of companies hire through referrals. I used to work in human resources. I know that's a huge thing. And so ultimately, the first thing you want to do is, figure out, do I have any connections into this company? If that's not the case, then how can I get in there? Can I meet them at a networking events? Can I meet the hiring manager at a conference and kind of hand my resume? For this case, ultimately, if you want to do something creative, you have to figure out, what's the best way to exemplify the skills and the experience that they're looking for. And so for this, since it was a creative marketing position, I figured, okay, if I create a creative resume to show how I can go above and beyond and generate awareness, they would appreciate that.
That's awesome. And I just love this different approach because it is a very competitive job market. And especially for jobs like Indiegogo, like, were they even, like, did they even have an application on the website where, like, you could apply through like their front door? Or was it just like a hidden position that you wanted to hit?
Yeah, so they actually didn't have any position specifically for the department that I wanted. It was for me just to get my foot in the door, get the conversations going with the recruiting team as well as the marketing team.
Yeah, well, got it. So for those looking to start like their own creative search, and they don't see like a position open on the website, should that like discourage them, or should that deter them from doing the creative approach?
No way. Go for it.
Like, so for example, if I wanted to do Facebook, right, and I wanted to do like head of ping pong or something, like they have a ping pong table.
Yeah.
The job isn't on like the website, like hiring now, but should I still like make something unique to Facebook so that I can like get my foot in the door, I guess?
I think one of the key things is to whenever you need something, it's always too late, right? Let's say I want a job right now, marketing. If you wait until that marketing job comes, it's going to be too late. So it's best to kind of do some pre-work, I guess, to kind of get the ball rolling, set the relationship so that when there is a marketing position available, you're going to be the first person they talk to, or ping pong. So if you want to be, if you want to be director of ping pong, right? I mean, one thing you could do is look at what some of the other teams are and reach out to specific hiring manager or director and say, hey, I noticed you guys are doing X, Y, and Z. I think what you guys need is a director of ping pong to make things more fun. Here's the skill sets that I have, and here's what I could contribute to the overall team to make you guys more efficient, more productive, generate more revenue. And that's how they'll, take interest to that.
The key thing that you said right there was, here's what I can contribute to your success. It's not about you. It's all about them. It's all about the company. All about helping them.
Yeah.
That's a key thing that most people, I think, might fail if they want to do this creative approach. So say have you heard of Quora?
Yeah.
Okay. So say Quora is like a better Reddit. So say someone wants to work at Quora and they want to be like the community manager there or something, a community intern or whatever. And someone's listening to this and they say, okay, I don't know anyone at Quora, but I want to do a creative approach to get into Quora or get their attention. I guess I don't want you to give me the answer, but I guess what thought process should I have to get into the first, what is my first step, essentially? Do you have any ideas for that?
Yeah, so if you don't know anyone at Quora, what would I do?
Well, not just at Quora, but anyone, say,
any company.
There's no one right answer. You don't have to have your Indiegogo page.
Right.
But I guess what would be that first step of just thinking, a thought process, I guess.
So understanding what the role is that you want, and then again, if you want to go with the creative route, figuring out what's the best way to exemplify your community building skills.
Got it.
So maybe it's to if you want to exemplify your community building skills, maybe you go on Quora and you answer 1,000 questions related to created to community building. They can show I'm an expert in community building. I just answered 1,000 questions on community building.
Yeah.
Or maybe you go on Quora and you build a community focus. You could do blog posts. You could do all sorts of things, right? Maybe you create a thread of 10,000 comments on one particular thing based on community building.
You can create a book about Quora answers about community building.
Exactly.
Someone else created a podcast about Quora. It's like an unofficial Quora podcast, interviewing Quora top writers because that person wanted to network with top writers, and he just did a podcast for it's just random stuff like that just really gets the ball rolling, huh?
Yeah, thinking outside the box, and how can you provide value, and demonstrating that.
It's so interesting. So first you have to identify what role you want, and then what are some ways specific to the role and to the company where you can show your skills and values. That's so positive. Am I missing anything so far? Or I feel that's a good starting point, right?
That's a good start. Another thing is to really do your research on the company and the people that work there, specifically if you do know the hiring manager. For the Indiegogo position, I did research on who I knew the hiring manager was.
Yeah.
So I stalked him on Twitter, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. And, one of the key things that I noticed was he enjoyed skateboarding and surfboarding and all this stuff. And I'm a skateboarder. I've been skateboarding for about 15 years. And so that was one of the key things actually listed on Indiegogo on my page.
To build that connection, right?
Yep.
Cool. So let's go back to Indiegogo for a quick second. So you created a page, and you said you shared it on social media. What does that actually mean? What did you do to get that page in front of people that work at Indiegogo? Did you email it to them? Did you tweet them?
Yeah, so email, tweets, had friends tweet. I, ultimately had somebody forward my resume to the CEO of.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Someone forwarded your resume to the CEO of Indiegogo.
Yep.
Wow. And did I get a response or? Just
a few days later, I got the phone call for the interview, so something worked.
Something worked. So, what do you think did work? Do you think was it all your friends tweeting? What was the most effective thing about your Indiegogo launch?
I think the tweeting probably not because it didn't go super viral or anything. I think what worked was just having the really nice resume and also having, people forwarding my resume to the team saying you need to talk to this guy. So
You have to talk to this guy.
you have to talk to this guy.
But I'm just thinking, like, for those listening in, like, who might be skeptical of this, like, creative job approach idea, which has been successful in many different instances. I'm afraid, like, they might think you're coming off as desperate. Like, I really, really want this job. Here's everything I'm going to do for it. Like, is that ever a concern for you, or should that not be, like...
I mean, it is a concern. Before I did this, I read an article, it was top 10 creative approaches that worked and top 10 that didn't. One of the ones for top 10 that didn't, a person sent a shoe to the hiring manager to, like getting his foot in the door.
That's good.
But I think, don't worry about, like, if you do something that's too over the top, and again, is not focused on how to exemplify your skills, it's going to be thought of as desperate. Another guy did a backflip when he was in an interview. Again, backflip is not related to the position unless he was applying for VP of backflip.
Special arts or something.
But there's a lot of ways to, do something creative. I mean, it's, one of my favorite ones, again, this is how do you stand out? So this particular individual noticed that the hiring manager that he interviewed with had a lot of Postit Notes because that's what kept him organized. That's what kept him focused. The Postit Notes were right in front of his face.
Wow.
So the day after that interview, he went into the office the next morning, dropped off a whiteboard filled with Postit Notes that had key skills and reasons that he should be hired.
Well, after the interview?
After the interview.
Interesting.
Yeah, the next morning gave it to the receptionist. The receptionist gave it to the hiring manager, and he got a phone call and with a job offer.
Oh, that's insane.
Yeah.
Well, I find that kind of weird, to be honest, because, like, you already had an interview. I thought he would, like, have the whiteboard with Post-it notes saying thank you or something. But he just reiterated, like, what he was all about, I
Exactly.
guess.
So instead of a thank you note, right, reiterating why he's fit, he pretty much did a customized whiteboard, which the manager was all about, and, did a creative approach.
That's so cool because, like, he wouldn't have known that unless he noticed the Post-it notes.
Exactly.
And he had that creative mindset going on. Another objection, like, some people might have with, like, creative job approaches is because, like, you say you took a lot of time with Indiegogo, and they might think, oh, I don't want to spend, like, 10 hours of my life applying, like, for Indiegogo, and if I don't get it, I kind of just wasted all that just for one specific company. I guess, is that a legitimate objection? Is that, like, something they shouldn't be worried about, or what are your thoughts about that?
So the way you don't waste your time is to do it for the purpose of just doing it. So for me, designing that creative resume, I did it because it was fun. I get to practice my design skills, get to build my portfolio doing it, and potentially, if it goes viral, I get to, say I was a part of a viral campaign. So whether or not I got the job or anything, I know that the time that I devoted to this, what I would call a project, was something that, gave me skills doing it. It was something that taught me something. It was something that, I can now showcase as a portfolio, and now look, it got me on a podcast. So focus on doing it for the purpose of whatever the creative project is. Just say I'm going to do this project because it's interesting to me. Maybe I could learn something on the way, and if it doesn't work out, awesome, no worries. I learned something.
Cool. So the goal is to get a job, but there's many other benefits, hidden and, like, public, that you can also get from doing this creative job approach.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. And so you spent 10 hours building the Indiegogo page, and then you tweeted it out, emailed to the CEO, to the hiring managers. What happened next? Then they emailed you for the interview. Is that correct?
Yeah. So typically you have a screen call with the recruiter, and they'll pass you on to the hiring manager. So did those two things. Once I got to the hiring manager again, he said, we don't have anything open right now, which I knew there wasn't anything online. But he said we're going to be hiring in Q4, which is going to be coming up in next month is going to be Q4.
Yeah.
So Q4, they're going to have a lot more positions. And because I've already built the relationship, when that position opens, hopefully I'm already going to have my foot in the door.
Yeah.
They'll have my shoe already.
Yeah, you already have your shoe because you have the email,
Yep.
you have the phone call, and those who want your position are like 10 steps behind you because you've already taken that step. And it's crazy because that position wasn't on the website. So most people might think you're crazy because like you're applying for a position that's not even like open. But now like the hidden benefit, like it all works out. Well, it's gonna work out in the end or to your favor at least.
Yep.
Dude, that's so awesome. And so for those who, let's go back to the core example. So say like they go on core and they want to become a community manager there. They do something super creative about like uh, let's say they make a book about all the best core answers on community building, or they write 1,000 answers and they write it and they make it to a little like ebook or something. I guess what's that next step? Do they tweet about it? Do they email? Like, is there a certain procedure you should follow, or is it kind of just like hope for the best, or what's gonna happen?
Well, everything is unique and has to be tailored to the position and company itself.
Okay.
Well, the way I look at things is I have to ask myself, where am I now? Where do I want to be, and how do I get there? So the how do I get there is, it could be anything. It could be a Twitter storm. It could be
Tweet storm.
yeah, tweet storm. It could be if it's a shoe store, you could send your shoe with the book inside of it. And some people have had success with actually creating Facebook targeted ads that's targeted to the employees of that company.
Yeah.
So let's say you have this Quora book based on your findings of community building. You could create a Facebook ad saying, here's the 1,001 tips for community building on Quora by so-and-so.
Yeah.
And then they could target that ad to all the core employees, get their attention. There's lots of ways to do it. It's just understanding who is your audience, like whose attention do you want. Is it the hiring manager? Is it the CEO? Is it the employees? And then understanding where are they? Are they going to be online? Are they going to be at conferences? Do they even have a Twitter that's used? So some people are on Twitter, but if you look, they haven't used it in like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
So that's probably not going to work. So understanding, who's my audience that I want to see, that I want them to see this book.
Yeah.
Where are they? And then how can I speak in such a language that'll capture their attention?
Yeah, I love how you're working backwards for this. And I think that could be applied for anything in business, to be honest. Who are you serving? Where do they hang out at? And how can you provide value to them? That's exactly what like any startup is, essentially.
Pretty much, yeah. That's three general principles of marketing.
So if you want to get a dream job or build a startup, those are the only 3 things you need to know.
Pretty much.
Well, I have another idea that just came up to me. You can someone can ask you a question on Quora about how can you improve community building, and you can give out so many good answers for that question, for example, or even reach out to Quora top writers and have them upvote your answer, or get people who are influencers in Quora, the Quora top writers, or maybe not someone who works for Quora, but someone who's very influential on Quora, and have them tweet the CEO or the hiring manager.
Yeah. Actually, that's a really good point. If you have, let's say I have you create a question, how do you build a community, an awesome community? And me as a potential job seeker, I go and I answer it with a really long, detailed explanation, and then somehow, have all my friends or all my colleagues or networks or influencers upvote it.
Yeah.
You can then take that question or a screenshot and then forward it to whoever, forward it to the hiring manager, forward it to the community building team and say, hey, look, I have what it takes to build a community. I have 1,000 people upvoting my comments. They believe that what I have to say is true. They believe in my vision. They believe in my strategies. I believe I can make these things come to life at Quora. Yeah.
Oh, so great. Even better, the question could even be phrased as, how can Quora be a better community? And you can write 10 ideas for Quora. I'm a big fan of giving ideas away. So if you have ideas on how to improve the community, I don't think someone will steal your idea. I think you just share it with Quora and deliver so much value to the point where it's kind of idiotic for them not to hire you, which is kind of what you kind of did, right?
Yep.
That's so sweet. So
that's good.
Go ahead.
Yeah, good point. So again, anytime you can provide value, whether it's at the beginning of the interview process or even during the interview. So one thing that can help you stand out is bringing a 30, 60, 90 plan. Which
30, 60, 90 plan.
Yeah.
A triangle.
So, yeah, a 30, 60, 90 isosceles triangle. Is it isosceles or is it?
I think right. No, I'm a nerd. No, that's not even a triangle. It's only like, is it a triangle? Oh, you're right. It is a triangle. 180.
Yeah. So 30. So yeah, 30, 60, 90
We didn't pass
is.
geometry.
Yeah, geometry was 7th or 8th grade. Where was I?
30, 60, 90 triangle. Oh no, plan.
Yeah, bringing a plan in the shape of a triangle.
What does that mean? What is this plan?
It's basically your plan if and when you are onboarded. Here's what you're going to do the first 30 days. Here's what you're going to do in the next second 30 days. Here's what you're going to do in the third 30 days. So we're going to do in 3 months. And typically, you start off with the first month. I'm going to get to know the company. I'm going to meet all the key team members and stakeholders. I'm going to become familiar with the processes, the tools, the policies, the procedures, and explain how you're going to hit the ground running. Like explain, if it's a product manager position, here's what I'm going to do. The second month, I'm going to build my own feature, and here's how I'm going to do it. And the third month, we're going to launch that feature. Here's how I'm going to track the success, so on and so forth.
Whoa, so you're planning like a whole 90-day schedule for yourself, and like exactly. How does it benefit the company?
Right. So let's say you're interviewing for a job that maybe you don't have all the skills, or maybe they're worried that, because you're transitioning careers, maybe you have some skills gaps. This basically demonstrates, I know what I'm doing. Like, here's my plan. Here's how I'm going to execute. I'm not all talk. I'm not just saying, oh, I'm going to create a marketing campaign and get tons of users. You're actually demonstrating, here's how I'm going to do it. And so the goal of the 30, 60, 90 is, one, you stand out in front of all the other candidates, and B, you actually explain how you're going to get something done rather than just talk about it.
Mm-hmm. That's very interesting. I never thought about that. So you present them with a plan. So you have a creative approach, and then you also have a plan that you said, if you hire me, I will execute on these ideas. Or you can add on to these ideas if you want, but I'm a man of action, not like talk.
Yeah. And I guess the third thing that it does too is it enables you to communicate your vision, right? I think, especially if it's a strategic position where they want somebody who can understand the markets. Yeah. Let's say you have to go into a position where there's so many on-demand startups right now, right? And they have to build it in one market and then execute it in another. So they're always looking for, what they call city launchers or city managers, which I was for Elance part-time. And what they're looking for is somebody with the vision to strategize key ways in leveraging growth.
Yeah.
So I think that would be a perfect example. The 30, 60, 90, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to build partnerships. I'm going to do these events at these different meetups. I'm going to get X amount of signups, and showing your vision and how it aligns with the business goals. I think it's another surefire way of at least getting you to the next step.
But Paiman, this takes too much work, and it's so complicated. I can't just apply on Monster.com and get my job.
You can apply on Monster, but you're probably not going to call back. Again, it goes back to, the realities that we live in. I mean, this is Silicon Valley, right? And so you are competing with Stanford graduates, UC Berkeley graduates, MBAs. You're competing with people with far more experience than you.
Yeah.
And ultimately, at the end of the day, if it's between Tam and Paiman, they both have the same experience on the resume. The person that just does one extra thing,
exactly,
it's going to be the tipping point.
That's so great. And this has been really, really fun. Just for anyone who wants their dream company, there's many ways to get there. I always think there's 3 ways. There's the front door, which is like Monster.com. The side door, knowing somebody. But if you don't want to do any of those 2, I would definitely recommend doing the creative approach that Paiman has talked about, that many others have talked about as well, and have done and have succeeded in that. Is there any other success story that you've seen personally or of that's worth highlighting?
Success with the creative approach?
With the creative, you said you read an article about the 10.
Yeah, there's so many articles. If you just Google,
creative job approach.
Creative job approach. Googling, how to get the attention of hiring managers. Okay. How to get the attention of employers. And you'll see I
love it. So it's not like a rare thing. People actually are doing it, and right now it's unique. But maybe like in 10 years, if everyone does it, then we do something different, right?
Yeah.
But right now, like if you're listening to this right now, you can be unique and stand out of the crowd if you try something creative. It takes more work, takes more effort, but the rewards will override all the struggles.
One last thing, I think what I want to leave it off with, if you want to succeed, the key to success is asking yourself, what would the average person do in this situation? And do the opposite. So the average person would just submit a normal resume. The average person wouldn't try to get a referral. The average person wouldn't send a thank you letter.
I love it.
The average person wouldn't bring a 30, 60, 90. And so anytime you could ask yourself in any situation, not only for interviews, but for startups, for entrepreneurship, what would the average person do in this situation, and do the opposite, more often than not, you'll be successful.
Wow. Because there's some things right now that I'm just like, I don't feel like it, which is like a total amateur approach. But just with that, the average person would, not run every single day. But if you really want to get more healthier, or in any situation, you should do the opposite. That's great, man.
Yep.
Awesome. This has been so fun, Paiman. Where can people listening find you and more about your work?
Yeah, so I have a website, PaimanVahdati.com. You could also add me on LinkedIn, add me on Twitter, Facebook, you name it. I'm everywhere.
Sweet, man. Before we go, is there any last words you want to give to someone who's like super pumped to do this creative approach, or like any last piece of advice that you want to leave with them today?
Definitely understand the goal, and remember that the goal is to get an interview. It's not to get a job. So,
okay.
So the goal of the resume is to get an interview, and then understanding the hiring manager, if you can find them, understand their personality, understand their passions, their likes, and tailor as much as you can to the position. Stay relevant to what their job is, right? Don't do backflips if it's not, the job description. Yeah. Don't do backflips if it's not in the job description. And again, stay relevant to the skills and experience that you want to demonstrate.
Don't do backflips. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate the time, and I hope everyone checks out your work and gets connected with you.
Awesome. Thank you, Tim.
All right. Peace out, man.
Peace.
Thanks for listening to Outside of the Classroom. Go ahead and go to www.outsideoftheclassroom.com/podcast to see all the show notes and resources we talked about today. And feel free to reach out to me for any feedback on the podcast, any guests you want to recommend, or if you need any help in general. I'm here for you. Let's kick ass in life together. All right, now stay awesome. Peace.